Mr. Daniel Jackson, I have some prepared remarks. Daniel Jackson was born in a small South Texas town where his first memories include nightly Bible study with his dad. Aww. After graduating from Rice University with a degree in computer science, he moved to Dallas and began his career in the power industry. 3 years ago, he joined the Fellowship of Free Thought, where for the first time he found a large group of like-minded people who accepted him as family and shared his desire to believe as many true things and reject as many false things as possible. Daniel does not have formal training in theology, astrophysics, or biology, but that does not stop him from exploring these topics rigorously in his pursuit of truth. Daniel is an extremely active Facebook debater, a guest columnist for the Atheist Republic website, and in his free time enjoys weightlifting, rollerblading, chess, and spending time with his wife, Sarah, and their dog, Kevin. With that, please welcome Mr. Daniel Jackson.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. I realize I'm not as big of a name in the atheist community as like Matt Dillahunty or Zachary Moore, but I'm going to make up for that. As you all saw, hopefully out in the front, there was a little bucket of quarters, and I'm going to demonstrate for you a miracle right here today. So thank you, Todd, for talking about how the brain can be tricked, because I'm not going to do that at all. I want to make sure that everybody who wants to participate, and it's like 1% physical activity, so if you're willing and you want to participate, I want to make sure you have a quarter. Does everyone have a quarter that wants to play? If anybody doesn't, I've got a handful here. It's fine. Okay, good. All right.
Other non-quarter coins?
Yes, you can use other non-quarter coins if you'd like. All right, everybody that has a quarter and wants to participate, please stand up. Get excited for this amazing miracle you're about to witness. Now, get your quarter out, and before we get started, I want to make sure that this is completely fair. So I want you to show your quarter, both sides, heads and tails, to your neighbor. And neighbors, make sure that these quarters are completely fair. I don't want any tricks going on out there. All right. So what I'm going to ask you to do here in a second is to actually flip the coin. Now, I realize that not all of us are very well coordinated. So if you are worried at all that you might drop the coin, you can always just cup it in your hands like that so that the quarter has a lot of room. You can shake it up, and then that'll be your flip. Is everybody ready? Okay, go ahead and flip your coin. All right, now, everybody that got tails, I want you to sit down. Excellent, okay. It's about 50-50, right? Okay, we're going to do another flip. Flip them again, go ahead. That's bound to happen. Once again, everybody that got tails, please sit down. Okay, all right, flip number 3, go ahead. All right, if you got tails, take a seat. Oh, down to a few left. Okay, flip again, please. Tails can sit. Okay, flip again. If you haven't already figured it out, this is kind of a race. Tails can take a seat. Wow, just one that time. Oh, we got 2, okay. All right, flip again. This is flip number, anybody keeping count? This is flip number 6, okay. Tails can take a seat. All right, 2 left, go ahead. Wow, okay, so that's what, number 8? All right, go ahead. Who's gonna win? Okay, that was the 9th flip, is that right? And we have one winner up. Gentlemen, will you please come up to the front? Now, will you tell your name, please?
Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy.
Fields.
Jeremy Fields, thank you. Jeremy, that was 9 heads in a row. Now, I'm a little rusty on math here. So 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512. 1 out of 512, that's less than 0.05% chance of flipping heads 9 times in a row. Jeremy, how do you explain this?
That's probably statistically significant.
think so?
Yeah, I actually just, when woke up this morning, I just had this hunch that something miraculous was going to happen today.
Oh, you got a good feeling, huh? Now, I mean, come on. Do you honestly believe that you flipped 9 times in a row just because you had a good feeling?
I was hoping it'd be something more miraculous, like winning the lottery or something. But okay, well, I have to admit, I was also praying the whole time to Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci's, the go-to guy for prayers being answered. So.
He was in Casino, so that does make sense. But, I mean, come on. This is a whole big group of skeptics. None of us believe that prayer actually works. So do you really expect us to believe that?
Well, I'm a skeptic too, but it's the truth. Well, it's partial truth. I'm also a master quarter flipper.
A master quarter flipper. Tell us more.
Well, so I know this sounds crazy, but I have a physics degree and a math degree. So I know how statistics and probability work. And I've been practicing as a boy, and I actually figured out how to beat the statistics. So, yeah, I'm a master quarter flipper.
Okay, well,
I'll also add that I'll be happy to share this with anybody else that wants to see it for just $49.95.
okay, so with a couple prayers for Joe Pesci and your expert quarter flipping program for only $49.95, anybody can be a master heads flipper, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, everybody. Oh, he's going to do it again. Okay. Wait. It's heads again. Holy crap. Everybody, give Jeremy a round of applause, please. Here's some heads.
I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't want to.
Well, you know, everybody, being an atheist, it's comprised of a lot of battles through our life. And one of those battles that we have to face all the time is being skeptical. Now, what you just saw here was actually 9 flips in a row, and the odds say that's 1 out of 512. Very, very small. Oh, that was 10 flips, sorry. 1 out of 1,024. Yeah, totally a miracle, right? But being an atheist means that you also have to be skeptical, and you have to be trained to think about those things. Now, were the odds of that happening really 1 out of 1024? Or maybe it was a 2-headed quarter? Thank you for witnessing my miracle here. The reason why I did this for you was to let you know that whenever you hear about miracle stories from other people, they will often leave out the important details that actually turn it from a miracle to just a normal everyday occurrence. Now, even without the 2-headed quarter here, because we had this large number of people participating, the odds of something like that happening were actually pretty high. It was going to happen to somebody. Have we all heard of Jim Cramer, that famous stock picker guy that does the Mad Money show on CNBC? Well, if you have 1 billion people picking stocks every day, one person is going to do pretty well over time, and everybody's going to think he's an expert, but there was going to have to be at least one. So keep that in mind next time you hear about miracles. Like I said before, being an atheist, it's a lot of battles that we have to face, and most of us have already dealt with the first and most important battle, and even Todd talked about it a little bit. It was breaking free from that indoctrination that we were all fed when we were at a too young to question age by our authority figures that we otherwise trusted and respected. I'm talking about like our teachers and our parents and our police officers, our politicians, which I think we've learned we can't really trust them anymore. But otherwise, yes, these people, we respected them and they told us that God exists. And to them, God exists was as real of a statement as, Texas summers are hot or Halloween is the best holiday. And who are we really to question them anyway? I mean, when it came to religion, for those of us that were indoctrinated as kids, did we even really have a choice to deny or to reject it? As a kid growing up in small town Texas, nobody ever even asked, do you believe in God or do you go to church? So the only question that we got asked was, what church do you go to? In fact, I don't think I had even heard of the word atheist until I got to college. And the notion of God was fed to us since before we could even talk or reason for ourselves. And so being able to break free from that kind of indoctrination, it's a really, really challenging thing. So everyone in here who went through that struggle, congratulations. I mean, that is a very difficult thing to do. And as we all know, there are lots of people out there that probably will never do it. I think it takes a certain kind of mindset to really find that. But that was only the first battle when it came to atheism. Coming out to society as an atheist is really where things get tough, and as I'm sure we all know that. Has anybody ever been dumped for being an atheist? Yeah? Yeah, I was. I dated a girl for almost a year, and she was actually okay with it, but as soon as her family found out that I was an atheist, it went downhill very fast. What about being unfriended in this Facebook world? Unfriended is a word now. Yeah. We all know how tough that can be. And even worse, how about family? Anybody have any family members that won't talk to them anymore? I mean, this is cut out of a will. Yeah, that's terrible. And we here in the United States, we're actually pretty lucky because elsewhere in the world, apostasy, which is the rejection of religion, it's something that getting cut out of a will is no big deal. I mean, these people are getting imprisoned and beaten and even killed sometimes. Why do people take it so seriously? You ever ask yourself that? God, these people take it so seriously. Personally, I think that faith, it's just not that much of a solid thing to hinge your beliefs on. And so people that subscribe to this faith thing, they require validity from other people to help solidify their beliefs. And we do it too. I mean, what's the first thing that you do whenever you see something amazing? Like, hey, come over here, come here. Did you see that? Did you see that guy flip the quarter 9 times in a row? Right? Or you pull out your phone, you take a picture. Because it's like we can't wholeheartedly believe something unless we have other people there to confirm it for us. And believers are no different. We've probably heard Christians say, well, how could 2 billion Christians be wrong if they're a Christian? Or Muslims will say, how could 1.5 billion Muslims be wrong? And they don't seem to be bothered by the fact that there's that whole other group. They have the numbers, and with the numbers, people will believe just about anything. So when your casual atheist like us comes along, and everybody's talking about God and how they feel great, and God blesses them and all this stuff, and the atheist says, no, I'm not feeling anything, not only does not give them that validation, but actually challenges it. Says, where's your evidence? How do you know that you didn't just have a hangover or something, feeling weird, you know? As we all know, people don't really respond to that kind of challenge very well. The struggle of public atheism is very real, and it's one that we will probably have to deal with for our entire lives. And it's all just because we were brave enough to say, I don't believe in God. But the funny thing about not believing in God is, not a whole lot really changes in your day-to-day life. I mean, think about it. We may get to sleep in on Sundays a little bit later, except for FOF Sundays. We get to eat food maybe 20 seconds sooner. Or whenever somebody sneezes, we don't have to drop everything and have a whole conversation. Are there any teachers out there? Any teachers in a classroom? No? Both of my parents were teachers, and they would always say, God, whenever somebody sneezes in the classroom, it's like, achoo, bless you, thank you, you're welcome, no problem. And it's like this whole interruption that they can't even really say anything about because religion is safe, you know. But prayers still go unanswered. Good things happen about as often as bad things. And that's pretty much what you would expect if God really didn't exist. And that's a shame. I mean, we go through all of this turmoil, some of us way more than others, getting cut out of wills. We go through all of that stuff just to live a stone throw away from where we were living before. But I bring you good news. There's a lot more to living as an atheist than just not believing in God. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. So that was my intro. Has anybody ever heard the phrase, God only gives you what you can handle? Yeah, everyone's heard that one. Even when I was a believer, telling this to somebody didn't make any sense to me. I mean, apparently it's supposed to bring comfort, but I've never felt comfort, and I don't know anybody else who has. This phrase is about as useful as thoughts and prayers, in my opinion, but we've all heard it before, either directed at us or maybe even on a poster with a cat hanging from a tree. I ask you now to be introspective for a minute. Take a look inside of yourself and ask, how much does a phrase like this really impact me? I'm not just talking about on the surface, but deep down in the catacombs of your mind. You know, if you're living in a society where these kinds of phrases are uttered often, even though you just dismiss them and they don't mean anything to you, hearing them over and over again, they will eventually seep into your subconscious and they will start to affect how you see the world, whether you like it or not. This is proven science. So after a while of hearing God only gives you what you can handle, Even though you're an atheist, you may start to operate as though everything that happens to you, you should be able to handle it. But we know, as true free thinkers, that this is absolutely not the case. And so in order to live like a real free thinker, we have to actively look for these things and reject them. We know that sometimes things happen to us that we cannot handle. People out in the world right now, they just got slammed by hurricanes. They can't handle that. People in this room are probably going through things right now that they cannot handle. But because of sayings like this, they're too proud or too afraid to ask for help. And so that's why I'm saying it's important to look into your mind and find out just how much this kind of saying is changing the way that you behave. We know that help from God is not coming. But God doesn't exist, so that makes sense. We exist. Your friends, your family, your community, we are here, and we are all in this life thing together. So whenever you're going through something, and you're not sure if you can handle it or not, or even if you think you can, ask for help anyway. I mean, look around you. These people are here for you. And also, if you see somebody else struggling, and maybe they are too proud to ask for help, if you can spare it, give them a hand. It's amazing to see the look in somebody's face when you come along and offer them help that they didn't even think about asking for. And life can be made better for everybody. Okay, what about this phrase? You get what you deserve. Oh, this one ticks me off. Now, I realize this doesn't immediately sound religious because it doesn't mention God in there at all, but think about the phrase, you get what you deserve. Does that mean that there is some magical system of justice out there making sure that everything that happens or everything that you do is going to be rewarded or punished in some way? Of course not. The very idea of karma comes from religious belief. I think actually the Hindus brought that to us. And I'm sure we would all feel very good when somebody's a jerk to us to think that, yeah, life's going to come along and kick them in the butt one day and, they'll get theirs. And that's fine. If that helps you get over what it was that they did to you, that's great. But I mentioned this particular phrase not for what other people deserve, but I mention it because of the damage that we do to ourselves. After hearing this for a while, we can start to think when something bad happens to us that, yeah, I probably deserve that. And that makes sense. I mean, your pattern-seeking brain is going to look out and remember, well, I walked under that ladder last week, so that's probably why I stubbed my toe today. Or, I cut somebody off in traffic yesterday, and now I've got a flat tire. The Abrahamic religions, in particular, they have this notion called original sin, which is where people are actually born bad and deserving of punishment. And they teach this to kids. If anybody wants to go 10 rounds with me on that one, I'm happy to knock them out. It's child abuse. That kind of teaching, when that seeps into your brain, it really impacts the way that you go through life. And it teaches kids especially that they can never be truly happy when good things happen to them, or truly proud when they've accomplished something. Because right around the corner, if they're too happy, well, some magical judge up there is going to kick them when they're down and take all that happiness away from them. And the only reason for that is because we were born filthy, corrupt little sinners. Well, I say to hell with that kind of thinking. You've all heard that scientists, the ones who aren't atheists, when they step into a laboratory, they become atheists because they know that if God were up there twiddling the dials on reality, then any kind of experiments are pointless, right? We as free thinkers, we know that too. We know God's not up there distributing tornadoes because we've allowed gay marriage, or fabricating hurricanes because we worked on the Sabbath, or blowing your tire out because you noticed that attractive jogger down the street. Sometimes things just happen, and the only reason that we should be asking why is to see if we can learn something from it, and we can't always learn. Now, I offer 10 thoughts and prayers to anyone who can name this movie, okay? Why do we fall? So that we can learn to pick ourselves back up. Batman, thoughts and prayers. Well done, well done. Let's see. Another common phrase that we hear is everything happens for a reason. Yeah, we've all heard that one. Now, this one I think really takes the cake for a religious mantra that has seeped its way into society. This sort of thing resonates with all of us. And Todd actually, he talked about this a little bit, because we all have millions of years of evolution hardwired into our brains to think that things happen for a reason. And it makes sense. I mean, imagine that you're out on the African Serengeti, and you're just walking along, and you notice that that tall grass over there, well, it's not moving the way it should be moving. Now, the non-pattern-seeking brain, who doesn't care about reasons, is just going to keep on walking, and may end up learning about the circle of life from Mufasa himself. It's the pattern-seeking brain that thinks, maybe I should stay away from that area, because there might be a reason, and that pattern-seeking brain survived. And now here we are today, and we are thinking that everything has a reason, even when there isn't one. And just because I'm up here talking to you about this stuff, just like Todd said, don't think I'm immune. Nobody's immune to this kind of thing. I bet at least 20% of my gray hair is due to trying to come up with the reason for why some bad thing happened, when it may have just been a flip of a coin. Now, I can stand up here and list a number of these sayings that we've all heard over time, but that wouldn't really be all that much fun. So I encourage you all, in your free time, to think about these sorts of sayings that you hear in society and consider how much they affect you. I mean, ever since we were infants, we've had religion not only try to tell us what to think, but how to think as well. And those chains travel much deeper than just your conscious mind. I mean, they travel all the way down to really what makes you you. And I'm talking about your values. What do you value? Have you ever stopped to think about what you value and why? I know your knee-jerk reaction may be yes, but it's a little bit harder than you would think. We spend most of our time thinking about what movie you want to go see, or what you want to eat, or who should win America's Got Talent, those kinds of things. Thinking about your values is a little harder. So I'm going to throw out a couple questions to help get your mind going. Let's see. Do you value bravery? I see a lot of people immediately nodding yes. Why? Do you ever ask yourself why you value bravery? Bravery is something that we were taught to value when we were very little, and it's very deeply ingrained in religious teaching. Noah, that man was so brave. He built a boat while everybody else was laughing at him. What an idiot, but his bravery paid off because he survived and everybody else was killed in the massive flood. Bravery, yes. Cowardice, no. Or Jesus was so brave, he died on the cross for our sins. Yes, Jesus, we should try to be brave like Jesus. Do you know why you value bravery? I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that you should or you shouldn't. I'm not trying to convince you out of your value of bravery. I'm just asking you to take some time to figure out why it is that you value it. Come up with a reason. Make sure it's a good one. What about security? This is another one. Everybody's like, yeah, of course, everybody values security. Well, my sister, throughout her entire 20s, all she did was travel the world, making just enough money doing odd and end kind of jobs in order to keep moving. She had no savings, no security whatsoever for an entire decade. Me, on the other hand, after I paid off my loans, I made sure that the 6% of my first paycheck went immediately to a 401k. I valued security a great deal. Now, neither one of us is correct. She got a lot of life experience. I may be a little closer to retirement, but we both had a good reason for those values. So once again, I'm encouraging you, think about what you value and come up with good reasons for that. Let's see, what else? Do you value being physically fit or intellectual pursuits, or both? Do you value helping strangers, or maybe just your friends and family, or maybe both, or maybe neither? Consider that. Do you value pride? Do you value respect? Do you value not offending anybody, being politically correct, or saying whatever the hell you want? People are different, but in most cases, they don't really know the reason for that. They've just taken what other people have fed them and continued it. One that's specifically about religion is modesty. Do you value modesty? Now, I'll confess, I have a little bit of Asperger's in me, so modesty is one that I've always kind of struggled with. Don't let religion come along and tell you that you should value modesty. If you don't value modesty, if you think that it's okay to be proud of your accomplishments, then be proud. There's nothing wrong with that. If you think you can be happy for good things happening to you, then be happy. My lovely wife, Sarah, is probably the most modest person I've ever met. She is in a first-year PhD program, and she is already sitting in a room with the experts around the world, coming up with new ideas, new technologies to help people be able to communicate. She's a speech-language pathologist. But not even in private can I get her to admit that she is a freakishly awesome person. Not even in private, even one-on-one, she's like, no, I'm just, I got lucky, I'm doing this. But that's okay. She values modesty a lot more than I do. So I get to brag for her. Another example of that is she's a vegan, and I've always been a meat and potatoes kind of guy. Now, I never really had a reason for not being vegetarian or vegan. It's just how I was raised. But spending time with her and hearing her reasons for veganism, it's slowly starting to get into my mind. She has good reasons. Now, I'm not going to try to convince you all, because I'm still a meat and potatoes guy. But I have agreed, because her reasons were so good, that I'm going to try it. We're going to work on that. But that's the point of having good reasons for things. Because if you have a good reason and you come up with somebody that disagrees with you, then maybe once in a while you can put a new mantra into their brain and you can help them get a good reason themselves. When you leave here today, I hope you will take the time to look inside of yourself and take a look at your values and find all of those ones that you're not really sure about a reason for them and come up with those reasons. Going all the way back to the things that you heard when you were 2, 3, or 4 years old, stuff you learned from TV, from your authority figures, and so on. Maybe once you consider those, you will find that you still agree with them and you're going to keep those values. And maybe for other things, you're going to decide, somebody else gave me that value, I don't have a good reason for it, so I'm going to change it, and you do an about-face. But either way, congratulations, because you have just made yourself into a slightly more unique person. If you have good reasons for holding on to all of the values that you do, then that gives you self-confidence. And to me, self-confidence is one of the highest things that you can value, because it allows you to offer what you have to the world and with confidence. So, my free thinkers, my community, I urge you to go out and truly think free. Thank you.